Nella NG officiel. Nella NG. Écoute, like et abonne-toi à Nella NG officiel sur YouTube. Nella NG officiel. Pour l'actualité musicale congolaise, art et divertissement, écoute la voix d'or. Nella NG te dit toute la vérité.
Sûrement vous avez écouté la nouvelle confession de Penielle en une petite partie. Mais ici, chez Nella NG officiel, on le mettra dans son intégralité. On le mettra dans son intégralité. Parce que Penielle s'était décidé de ne plus faire ses émissions en français pour punir la communauté congolaise. Mais elle a fait une nouvelle confession. Voilà pourquoi on demande toujours d'écouter les deux parties. Oui, elle n'a pas annulé ce qu'elle a dit pendant tous ces temps, non. Mais elle a corrigé pour avoir la conscience tranquille. Maintenant, la question qui se pose, elle a fait ça parce que elle ne voit plus ses enfants et qu'on l'a encore exigé à corriger cette partie-là. Puisque Penielle a demandé pardon, Penielle a arrangé avec le couple Madjabou, Penielle est revenu après avoir demandé pardon pour insulter encore le Past.Mike Kalambay, sortir encore le voice et le message et tout qu'on sort. Et encore elle-même qui revient pour dire qu'elle veut rectifier certaines parties. Dans cette vidéo, vous aurez le résumé de son live. Une personne a bien expliqué. En tout cas, je n'ai pas voulu gâcher le travail bien fait de cette dame-là pour essayer un peu d'interpréter. Non, elle a bien résumé. Vous serez d'ailleurs bien ravis qu'elle les résume tellement bien. Et ensuite, on va suivre la Penielle elle-même en train de parler maintenant, d'expliquer. La tume Penielle, c'est là qui avait insulté le Past.Mike Kalambay jusqu'au bout. Oui. Dans une séparation, il n'y a pas 100% raison, 80% raison, non. Il y a toujours un 50 raisons, 50 raisons. Parce qu'il y a des choses qui se passent parfois. Quand ça ne marche pas dans le couple, vous allez voir que vous avez envie de divorcer. Mais comme on dit toujours que le mariage, c'est pour les personnes matures. Mais dans la vidéo, Penielle dit que c'est elle qui est en train de provoquer le pasteur Mike parce qu'elle connaissait les défauts de ces messieurs-là pour qu'il le touche dans son corps. Si c'était le cas, pourquoi elle avait divorcé? Parce qu'elle les provoquait. Trop de complications, de mystères. Par contre, il a quand même donné un conseil au pasteur Mike Kalambay. Il lui a quand même conseillé. Ça, c'est un bon conseil. Et j'aimerais aussi beaucoup de personnes puissent prendre ces conseils-là. C'est très intéressant, ces conseils-là. Mais, quand vous voyez une femme ou un homme qui vient sur les réseaux sociaux parler de son partenaire avec qui il ou elle a vécu pendant beaucoup de temps, rassurez-vous que la personne là cherche beaucoup plus la compassion. Une personne peut être mauvaise jusqu'au point de divorcer. Oui, je suis d'accord. Parce que la vie est en danger. Mais dans chaque personne, il y a une bonne partie, il y a une mauvaise partie. Il y a malamu izalaka, il y a mabepe izalaka. Suivez le résumé de la dame et je vais vous laisser encore suivre la vidéo originale de Penielle, sa nouvelle confession qu'elle a fait. Si elle a fait ça pour les enfants, elle sait. Si elle a fait ça parce qu'elle voulait se libérer, c'est toujours elle. Si elle a fait ça parce qu'elle bientôt le pasteur Mike Kalambay va se marier, elle-même elle sait. Mais c'est que sur elle avoue clairement qu'elle a manipulé la communauté congolaise. Batamite mamawa, batpasala rabakanyot. Aider les personnes qui en ont besoin réellement. Parce que sur les réseaux sociaux, ils en ont yibi moko na évité. Abonnez-vous sur Nella NG officielle, cliquez la cloche de notification, aimez la vidéo, commentez, surtout partagez-moi cette vidéo. Il faut faire parvenir ces messages. Frère Mike Azama B. Makasi. Mais Penielle avoue qu'elle a manipulé la communauté congolaise. Car le quoi bananae, ils a pas si ming. Suivez la vidéo, moi également, je suis avec vous. Suivez.
Canal Doré TV, une chaîne idéale pour vous détendre en famille. Du théâtre et des gags, elle nous propose un programme complet.
Moi aussi, j'ai une ménopause. Pour le bino, tu vois bien.
Des vlogs pour vous détendre, relaxer et apprendre. Ici, tout est doré de bonheur. Découvrez le monde doré en vous abonnant et cliquez sur la cloche de notification pour plus d'actualités ainsi que beaucoup de monde doré.
Mourir Kalambay est de retour et elle avoue avoir manipulé tout le monde en fait. Alors je vous explique point par point ce qu'elle a dit. Alors en premier lieu, elle met le point sur le fait que Mourir Kalambay a eu à avoir une enfance difficile et qu'elle n'excuse pas ses actes, mais qu'elle tient à souligner cela parce qu'elle le savait. Elle explique ensuite que Mike n'a jamais été un prédateur, que lorsqu'il l'a rencontré, elle a dit qu'elle avait 18 ans et que donc lui pensait parler à une personne majeure. Elle dit ensuite qu'elle est vraiment peinée que tout le monde appelle Mike Tyson parce qu'en fait c'est pas un homme violent. Qu'elle l'a toujours poussé à bout parce qu'elle a des problèmes de colère et que du coup vu qu'il avait eu à la tromper beaucoup de fois, elle se sentait manipulée, humiliée et que donc elle avait tendance à être violente vis-à-vis de lui, devant ses proches ou autres. Et que du coup, la seule fois où il a eu à la tabasser, c'était la fois où elle a pris des photos et qu'elle a montré à tout le monde. À ce moment-là, du coup, elle a manipulé tout le monde en disant que il me tape tout le temps en fait, ce qui est faux. Elle le dit elle-même. Elle dit qu'au total, Mike a eu à la taper 6 fois. 6 fois et dans les 5 fois, c'était elle qui était à l'initiative de tout ce qui s'est passé en fait parce qu'elle s'amusait à le taper. En gros, elle tapait Mike. Ça me choque de dire ça parce que frère, Mike c'est un homme battu. Elle se considère être le retour de bâton de Mike parce que Mike a eu à tromper, à manipuler, à faire du mal à beaucoup de femmes et que donc elle ne voulait pas se laisser faire et que donc elle était son karma. Elle dit que concernant les enfants, c'est elle-même qui les a envoyés au Congo pour que Mike puisse prendre ses responsabilités et passer plus de temps avec les enfants et que donc à aucun moment il a eu à les enlever ou à les séquestrer là-bas, que c'est elle-même qui a décidé qu'ils y aillent en fait. Lorsqu'il lui est arrivé des problèmes au Congo quand elle est partie là-bas, c'était pas à l'initiative de Mike, c'était d'autres personnes. Mike n'a rien fait pour l'aider, mais pour le coup, il n'a rien fait non plus pour lui poser de problème. Que c'est un homme très calme, qu'il est très patient. Vraiment, elle a répété pendant toutes les vidéos qu'il est très patient, qu'elle n'a jamais vu un homme aussi patient de sa vie et qu'elle était littéralement problématique. Elle a aussi dit que concernant cette histoire de pipi dans toutes les pièces, c'était complètement faux, qu'elle a tout extrapolé pour pouvoir alimenter la chose sur le fait que voilà, c'est un sorcier ou des choses comme ça, mais que Mike n'est pas du tout un sorcier, qu'elle a totalement menti, qu'elle en a profité pour alimenter ce côté-là parce que les Congolais aiment trop ça, mais que vraiment il est tout sauf ça, il est même très peureux comme homme et que en fait c'est une flippette. Genre, il est vraiment gentil, il est généreux, que le gars, en fait, tout ce qu'elle nous a dépeint de lui, en fait, c'est pas ça. Le gars, il est totalement gentil, qu'il pourvoit à toute sa famille, que c'est un gars plutôt calme, très patient, plutôt gentil, et que finalement, c'est même pas un sorcier, c'est juste un serial trompeur, en fait. C'est ça qui lui a foutu la rage, c'est qu'il trompe tellement qu'elle en avait marre, en fait. Et vu qu'elle était amoureuse et jeune, elle s'est sentie trahie et du coup elle a commencé à le battre. Mais que depuis petite, elle a des problèmes de colère et que du coup, cette violence est remontée en elle. Et c'est là où elle a commencé à avoir des actes assez graves vis-à-vis de lui. Et elle s'est même qualifiée comme étant Mohamed Ali, c'est pour vous dire. Bref, je regarde la suite et je viens vous dire ce qu'elle a dit. Du coup, Mourir Kalambay, alias Ali Boumaye, parce que vraiment c'est comme ça qu'on l'a appelé, explique que les tromperies répétitives de Mike ont réveillé ses vieux démons. Elle se sentait humiliée et du coup elle a adopté une stratégie, celle de le taper devant tout le monde. Genre elle le tapait littéralement devant les gens pour le terroriser, pour qu'il ait peur de ses réactions à elle et pour que les gens aient peur d'elle en fait. Parce que Mike ne trompait pas ailleurs, il trompait vraiment dans le cercle restreint. Du coup, vu que les meufs, elles pouvaient être à côté ou quoi, etc., vraiment, voilà, elle était devenue folle, elle a vrillé. Et elle a expliqué 2-3 faits. Comme le fait qu'une fois, elle a laissé Shadai qui pleurait à Mike pour qu'il puisse s'en occuper. Mike n'y arrivait pas et a demandé de l'aide à Penielle, mais elle a décidé de partir pendant 3 heures, les laissant tous les deux. Au retour, elle a vu que Mike, il était en pleurs, il n'arrivait pas à calmer l'enfant, et l'enfant aussi était en pleurs, et donc elle a décidé de prendre l'enfant qui était au sein, parce qu'il n'arrivait pas à se calmer, tout simplement parce qu'il était au sein. Elle l'a nettoyé, elle l'a redéposé, et là elle dit à Mike, en le provoquant, en fait c'est comme ça qu'on s'occupe d'un enfant. Mike a vrillé, à ce moment-là ils se sont battus. Et l'histoire de la photo qui était sortie sur le fait qu'il avait tapé, c'était tout simplement parce que ils étaient allongés tous les deux. Mike avait besoin d'espace, il a juste poussé légèrement en mode laisse-moi un peu d'espace s'il te plaît. Et en fait, elle, ça l'a énervée, elle a commencé à lui donner des coups de pied. Et à un moment donné, pendant qu'elle donnait ses coups de pied, je pense qu'elle a touché au mauvais endroit, il a saigné. Et là, il s'est dit enough. Genre là, c'est trop, tu abuses, attends, je vais te corriger vite fait. C'est là qu'il a pris la ceinture et qu'il l'a tapé, ce qui n'est pas tolérable du tout. Et un jour, comme ça, il a regardé, genre un jour, elle s'habillait, il a vu les marques sur son corps et il a dit non, mais en fait, il faut qu'on arrête parce que c'est devenu trop toxique. Les deux étant toxiques, Mike ne s'empêchant pas de tromper et Penielle ne s'empêchant plus d'être violente, en fait, ils étaient devenus limite le diable de l'un et l'autre. Du coup, soit c'était elle qui partait, soit c'était lui qui partait et elle a décidé de partir en fait. Parce que lui ne pouvant pas le faire à cause de, vous connaissez, la communauté congolaise, religieuse. Bref, c'est ça qui a donné suite à tout ce qui s'est passé après. Elle a voulu se venger en salissant juste tout simplement Mike Kalambay. Vous prenez ce que vous prenez, vous pensez ce que vous pensez, je relate les faits.
Hey guys, so we need to talk. And I'm not excited to like do this. I need to talk. This is not like structured or anything, but I think it's just gonna make sense. Okay, so on my TikTok account, I have obviously been wanting to do a rebrand of, I guess, how I'm known to be, or like what I'm known for in my community, the Congolese community. And for those that don't know, especially since I'm speaking in English, I also I'm gonna have subtitles in the video so that I think it can translate over for people who need to listen to this in French also, because I do think that it does concern the entire community. But it's just, I don't want to address you guys all the way in French because I feel like this is so much bigger than just the Congolese community and just my own personal life. So I'm trying to gather myself, y'all. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Penielle Kalambay. I am still legally Penielle Kalambay. I am 30 years old. I'm a mother of 2 boys. Their names are Shaddai and Zion. My oldest son is 9, and my second son is 5. And so I have 2 boys with their father, whose name is Mike Kalambay. I didn't think that I would ever speak about him or speak on him or say his name ever again on my platforms, because I really did want to turn a new leaf and not talk about him and not talk about anything anymore, because I felt like, it's time to move on. But I can't move on without being honest, okay? What we are going to be talking about here is actually my villain origin story. We are going to talk about how everything happened, because I feel like there's a little bit of confusion, because a lot of things still don't make sense. Because contrary to popular belief, I was always controlling the narrative. I always knew what was going to happen, when was going to happen, who was going to do it, how they were going to do it. Call me a psychic or whatever, but I'm not a psychic, okay? I was a housewife. I got married when I was 18 years old. I met my ex-husband when I was 17 years old, turning 18. This is also an important part. Okay, so basically in this whole video, I need to rectify certain things, because in this story, it was mutually exclusive when it comes to the toxicity, and even when it came to the abuse, okay? And I omitted a lot of things that I feel like it's important for me to mention now, in order not only for the story to make sense, but also for me to have peace and also for Mike to have peace, because everything that has happened has not been fair. I have sons. I have 2 boys, okay? I would hate for my sons to do what their father did to me, and for them to marry a woman who has reactions like mine. I would hate that. I would cry. I would literally freak out if my sons married a woman who acted the way that I do. They would die. They would die. They would not make it. Their dad is strong. And y'all gonna understand why in a little bit. And I'm not saying this to like applaud myself or whatever. I'm not saying this because I'm proud of myself or anything. I just want I want everybody to like to learn something from this, because I learned something from this, he learned something from this, and everybody seems to be involved in this anyway. Everybody is still completely obsessed with the evolution of his and I's relationship and our relationship in regards to our kids. And I think it's also partially because there is unfinished business, you know? And I feel like this little series that I'm gonna do on my TikTok is gonna finish the business. Now back to the whole age thing. I met my ex-husband when I was 17 years old, okay? And I was 2 months before turning 18. I met him at the end of August 2012, and I turned 18 in October 2012. So when my husband and I met, and he asked me, my ex-husband, when my ex-husband and I met, and I could tell that like he was interested. One, also, I want you guys to understand the cultural context. I want you guys to understand that I 100% believe that the way my ex-husband and I's relationship began was inappropriate. I still think it was inappropriate. I still think that the age gap at that time was inappropriate, but I'm gonna also elaborate a little bit more on that, because I think it's, y'all need to know kind of like the details. It needs to make sense. Although I do believe that it was inappropriate, I don't for 1 second think that it was predatory. I don't think that he was preying on me. I don't think that. And the reason why I don't think that, even though my ex-husband is much older than me, I am sure that at that time, I don't know if he's gone to therapy or if what he's done for himself. I hope he's gone to therapy because he needs it. But with the culture, the Congolese culture, I don't know if that's something that he would even look into, but that's besides the point. My ex-husband went through a lot of various forms of trauma as a child, and I think that when you go through those physical, emotional, intimate kinds of trauma, your thought process kind of stunts at a certain age. And on top of just the trauma, I think if I could compare my ex-husband's career, like musical career, to anyone's, I think the best way that I could describe it is that he's like a gospel version, a Congolese gospel version of like Justin Bieber. Okay? Why do I say that? He started doing music when he was like he really, like, people really started noticing that he was talented when he was around like age 7. And I think by age like 12, he was already like leading the youth choir like at his church. And by the time he was like 15, he was the head of like the adult choir. And like he's a musical prodigy. Like no matter what anybody wants to say about it, like facts are facts. He's a musical prodigy. He always has been, and he's very talented when it comes to music. And he writes his own songs, and it's like he's very whatever, right? And so y'all gotta understand that the Congolese music industry is very similar to what we have in Hollywood, is what we have in LA. There are various types of P. Diddy's in the Congolese music industry, especially in the religious sector. And my ex-husband did not grow up with his parents. He did not really grow up with a covering like that. Like, his entire life has been suffering. His entire life has been painful, like from childhood. I feel like one day, if he himself wants to go into more detail into what those things are, that's up to him. But I think I just want to give a small overview that I know is also known publicly, like within the family, within neighbors and stuff. You know, this isn't anything intimate that isn't known. I'm not saying anything in these videos that isn't known except the stuff that I kept. So yeah, so he didn't really grow up with his parents. He grew up with family members, and the treatment was horrific. Like, horrific. Think Nollywood. Think the most horrific ways you could behave towards a child. That is how he grew up. And he also grew up in a polygamous family, and his mom was not a particularly she wasn't like a favorite. That's the most respectful way I could say it, but they were married. And we're gonna go to the next video. Let's just keep going to the next part. I'm just gonna post these as I go, because I don't really know. Yeah, so just watch, I guess. So as I was mentioning, his mom wasn't really like a favorite, and so his dad didn't really care much about him and his siblings, I guess. He didn't really start caring until Mike became famous. And one thing about Mike that a lot of people don't know, that man is very, very, very tender-hearted. He is very sensitive. He's very passive. He's very passive. I had the more strong, explosive comportment in our relationship. But because I am so good at being charming and so good at pretending to not be the way that I am, because I know how destructive it is. I'm a Libra. I know some people over here, they don't like the horoscope. Oh, you're talking about whatever. I believe that God is in everything. God is in any type of intelligent thought process or anything. I think there's truth in everything, okay? I don't pray to the signs or whatever, but I do read, and I do take these things and I do fact check it with what I believe are my convictions, and I try to learn from everything. I'm a Libra. Libras are known to be very charming and very diplomatic and very fair and very easy to be around. We're even considered to be people pleasers. But that is the face that we put on because we know what we really are or what we really can be. And we don't want to be that version of us. And that's why we work so hard to suffocate it and to be all of these good, appropriate, diplomatic, fair, classy, likable things. Because we know that once we tip the scales, once we get out of balance, we become Machiavellians. So, as I said, this is not structured. Just please follow. And so, like, his dad didn't really start caring until he became who he became, and he started making money, and he became the breadwinner of the entire family. Not just our little family, like him and our sons and me when we were married, but like everyone in his family. And his dad had multiple wives. He has like 15 plus siblings, and everybody looked to him, and he was always there for everyone. He is the most generous person I have ever met, and he is the most patient person that I know and that I have ever met. But he is still a man, okay? And this is why this is a villain origin story, because all of those great things do not take away from the fact that what was going on or what was happening in our marriage was absolutely, unbelievably just like wrong on all sides, okay? It started off inappropriately. I was way too young. But if I have to be completely honest with everyone, with myself, with him, when he did ask me how old I was, I told him automatically, oh no, I'm legal, like I'm 18. I knew that I was going to be 18 in 2 months, and I had never been with a man, so I didn't even know really where this could have possibly gone. I just thought that it was cute that he thought that I was pretty, or that he was interested in me. And I was never a girl who had like low self-esteem. I've always been very beautiful. And so like it wasn't new for me, for a man to find me pretty. It didn't mean anything to me. And so for me, it was kind of like a game. But we started to talk. We started to get to know each other. We started to spend time with one another. I think he was there for like 2 months straight, and we spent almost every single day together. And we were really friends. And I think that's why there weren't really any alarm bells, because we would hang out around everyone. It wasn't like we would sneak off or anything. Nah, it was a very natural and very just whatever. And so that's why I didn't think that it could have went that way, because he was also very much a public figure. This was like the Malalaise era. So he was really like number one in Congo. And I was about to be a senior in high school. And so I didn't think for 1 second that this man cared about me like that. I didn't think, even after he did establish some type of attraction, or when he did tell me, he kept telling me, he was like, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna marry you. He was like, I have to go back because I did not come here to marry you. I came here to work. I'm gonna go home, and then I'm gonna come back in 1 year's time exactly, and I'm going to marry you. And he did ask me my birthday then, and then I told him that my birthday was October 14th, and that's when he asked me, oh, so you're turning 19? And I was like, no, I'm turning 18. And so, but this was like, I think like months down the line. So it's like, it was like, how I'm saying, it was inappropriate, but it was not predatory. I am not defending this man's actions. I am literally stating facts, okay? I'm literally stating facts. And so when I turned 18, that's when I spoke about it with like my parents. Like when I was officially 18, he had already gone back to Kinshasa. And when I turned 18, I told my parents about it. And my dad was completely adamant. Like, he did not want to hear anything about that. Like, I had scholarships for school, like to go to college. Like, I was really smart. And the other thing about Mike, I think it's important to just throw this in here while I'm talking about like my academic experience. Mike didn't really get that. Like, how I mentioned, he became famous really young. Like, he couldn't go to school. Like, his teachers were literally like fangirling with him, and he didn't have parents who were really looking out for him in that sense. Like, he started fending for himself when he was like 14 years old, you know? And so it's like, he dropped out of school, but he didn't drop out because he wasn't smart. Because I know I didn't make fun of him on Twitter and say that he doesn't even have like a high school diploma because he didn't finish high school or whatever. But he didn't not finish because he didn't want to, or because he wasn't smart. And that's what I mean when like I'm saying this is like a villain origin story. Like, I would lie about some stuff, and I'm gonna rectify what I lied about. Like, think about me, when I'm ready to just whatever, I'm not gonna really like hide anything. Like, if we gotta say it, we gotta say it. But like, I would take things that were truths and I would say them in such a malicious, manipulative, vindictive way, especially when I was angry. Because the thing about my ex-husband that he needs to understand, and I know he's gonna watch this, okay? I'm gonna say this part in English, and I'm also gonna come back and say this part in French because I think it's very important, okay? I warned you for years, okay? My ex-husband, he was an eligible bachelor in Congo, and he did a lot of things to a lot of people's daughters that he didn't have no business doing. He wronged a lot of people. He did, and especially women. And it wasn't like he would like physically like hurt anyone really in that way, because he's not really that type. Like, he's really a scaredy cat. Like, when I explained to you guys that I used to like mink this man, like, I'm telling you, I'm going to get to that part. I'm going to explain everything. And I need y'all to stop calling him Mike Tyson. Because that nigga really cannot fight like that. Like, let me not say the N-word. But that man cannot. He's not really all that. I think the pictures that y'all saw that I had posted of the domestic violence that time, I think that was the worst that it had been. And the worst that he had done. But I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to all of this. I'm not defending it. But I also feel that it is important as women to understand, as a woman, do not put your hands on a man. Do not play that game. Even if he doesn't retaliate right away. Even if he doesn't retaliate for years. Even if he doesn't, whatever. Men are human beings. The day that he will retaliate, he gonna retaliate. Okay? So, yeah. So, like, it's so much. Yeah, so I was saying, y'all need to stop calling him Mike Tyson, because it's not fair. Like, if y'all gonna call him that, don't call him for beating me up, because he wasn't really beating me up like that. We was going at it. It was more like George Foreman and Muhammad Ali, but I was Muhammad Ali. Like, I was, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Yeah, that was me. Like, mink, mink, mink. And the thing about him, he would at least do it in, like, the privacy of our room. I used to mink him in front of his friends. Like, I used to mink. Like, mink for real. But come to the next part of this video, and I'm going to explain to you guys why I used to mink him. There was always a reason. So this is the thing that I was saying that I want to say in both French and English. My ex-husband, you know that you wronged a lot of women. And none of those women ever really retaliated. I'm not going to mention their names here. And so I think you developed a thought in your mind that all women were like that. Everybody not finna play with you. Everybody is not finna play with you. Okay? Everybody does not respond to betrayal, trauma, cheating, infidelity the same way. There are women and men who will take you out of this world for betraying them, through infidelity and things like that. There are people on this earth who will remove you from this earth for those types of betrayals. You had the grace to deal with women before who were like more... And so I think you thought that because I was the youngest woman that you have probably dealt with, that I know of, that she's gonna be easy. But you don't understand, honey. Everybody don't play those games. Everybody is not mentally stable like that. Okay? Et ce que je voulais dire, c'était que ça, je m'adresse à tout le monde dans le sens où j'aimerais que vous compreniez un peu les réactions de tout le monde ne sont pas pareilles. Mon ex-mari, tu as blessé, tu as déçu, tu as, je sais pas, trahi, je ne sais pas, énième de femmes avant de dealer même avec moi. C'était peut-être pas dans les mariages, c'était dans le copinage et tout, whatever. Et ces femmes-là n'avaient jamais réagi, ne s'étaient jamais comportées mal vis-à-vis de ta personne. Mais, au lieu de te dire que j'arrête et tout, que Dieu m'a fait grâce de ne pas dealer avec une vraie folle, que je change, tu t'es dit, tu vas prendre une qui est plus jeune et tu pensais que peut-être parce que j'étais jeune, que j'étais malléable, bien que j'étais plus facile que les autres. Et pourtant, c'était absolument le contraire. Tout le monde ne réagit pas au trauma de la même manière. Tout le monde ne réagit pas à l'infidélité de la même manière. Il y a des gens dans ce monde qui vont aller chercher une arme et mettre fin à la vie de son conjoint ou de sa conjointe à cause de l'infidélité, à cause de je ne sais pas quoi, à cause de trahison, à cause de trucs comme ça. Alors, quand je t'avertissais et je te disais Papa Shaddai, et ça c'était en 2019, parce que ma sortie médiatique c'était en 2020. On a fait une année où on essayait de chercher la paix. On a fait une année. Et je pense que parce que j'écrivais de temps en temps sur Instagram, ça l'énervait. Mais le truc avec le père de mes enfants, il ne sait pas comment vraiment parler. Je ne dirais même pas qu'il ne sait pas comment communiquer en général, mais juste parler. Il ne sait pas comment exprimer ses émotions. He doesn't know how to My ex-husband does not know how to explain his emotions and his feelings. And so he would not understand that when I was telling him, hey, let's figure this out in a peaceful way before I get mad. Because what my brain is telling me is that my anger is justified. If I can justify my anger as a Libra rage then sets in. When Libra rage sets in, that's when I adopt Machiavellianism. And Machiavellianism is a philosophy that states that it is the end that will justify the means. And putting on that Machiavellian hat meant that you had wronged me so much. You had wronged me to the point where I felt like it was a point of no return. You had wronged me. You had tipped the scales so far over that I had to revive. And then the thing about scales, when they tip, they take time to tip, right? It took time for the scales to tip. It wasn't one incident. It was one incident, 2 incidents, 3 incidents. It happened over time, right? But as somebody who was constantly just trying to keep face for the family, who was trying to make sure that everything was good on the exterior, to save face, because you was embarrassing the shit out of us. You was embarrassing all of us. And my thing is like, I'm not going to be the only one who's embarrassed. You're not going to be out here playing with these little girls and just be embarrassing me. If we're going to be embarrassed, we're going to really be fucking embarrassed. We're going to really be embarrassed. Okay? Yeah. So I was talking about this with my friend, and the women who think like me, we're kind of like, you know, those people who are like self-sacrificial, and they'll wear like a bomb on themselves knowing that they're gonna set something off, but they know that since it's on their body they're gonna die anyway too. That's the point where I got, okay? And when I get to that point and I'm trying to retip the scales, my reactions and my behavior is gonna be violent. I have a very I have a disposition that gives the impression that I'm very soft, that I'm very gentle, that I'm very whatever. But those who know me know that I'm very tapped, okay? During the entire time that I was in elementary school and middle school, I was in court-mandated anger management classes, mandated by the state of Texas, okay? My family had to go to family therapy because they literally thought that something insane was going on in our home because I was such an angry, like, child. Like, anything could set me off. And I knew, I think once I turned like 15, that type of anger was going to get me in trouble, because I was getting to an age where I was no longer going to be able to just go to juvie and things like that. I was getting to an age where I could start getting tried as an adult in Texas, and I didn't want to go to prison. And so that's when I was like, you need to change. And since I was going from middle school to high school, I was like, okay, this is a perfect time for a rebrand, because I'm going to go to school with people who did not know that I am crazy. And so you put on that persona, and that's when I also kind of developed like the people pleasing, I guess, like habits or whatever, right? But that doesn't mean that version of me stopped existing. It's still there. I'm just doing everything in my power to not trigger it, to not be like that, to not act like that, because I don't want to be like that, you know? And the thing about Mike that broke my heart was that you pushed me to become something that I decided that I did not want to be, that I worked so hard not to be. And because he did that when we were married, I can really say that in the marriage, I didn't do anything too bad. It was kind of like tit for tat type of stuff. And I'm going to go into that in a second. But I can genuinely say that when we separated, after the separation happened, I was ruthless. Absolutely ruthless. And like I said, I knew everything that was going to happen anytime. one truth that I think is important for everybody to know, especially in regards to like the children, and I think this part I'm also going to say in French because it's one of the elements that I think that everybody should know. Everybody's always talking about why doesn't she go to Congo? Why doesn't she go see her kids? I'm the one who changed the country of domicile to the Democratic Republic of Congo. I changed the children's country of domicile to the Democratic Republic of Congo because I wanted to force him to be present in his children's lives. And if the kids are in Congo, he's obviously not going to abandon them because I know how he is. He was ignoring them because they were with me. We were in America and he was able to put it out of his mind. And so I had decided that the children are going to go to Congo because I'm not going to be a single mom. Okay. So that was calculated. I knew that that was going to happen. I also know that in this moment right now, that if I want to go to Congo, I am going to go to Congo and absolutely nothing is going to happen to me. My ex-husband's worst fear is actually something happening to me. And anything that happened in the Democratic Republic of Congo was orchestrated by people that thought that he wanted them to do these things. But in actuality, nobody would actually consult him and be like, we're going to do this. He would never encourage it. He wouldn't encourage it, but he also wouldn't get involved or stop it until it got too late. And so for a while, for me, I believed that he was encouraging it. And so like I mentioned, his worst nightmare is something actually happening to me in the Democratic Republic of Congo, because what is going to happen if something happens to Penielle? He is going to be the one who is going to carry the weight and the guilt and the fault for that. And if anybody knows Mike, anybody knows that he would never, ever risk that. So yeah, I knew that I couldn't set foot in Congo without really putting truth out, because y'all, I would have never been able to face him because I knew that I was lying. Well, I wasn't really lying. I was omitting the things that I had done. So let's go to the physical abuse, okay? When I tell you guys that I used to mink this man, I used to mink him, okay? I counted with my sister yesterday how many times he had put his hands on me in total, and it was 6 times in the entire time that we were together. And on only one occasion did he hit first. And I think that was towards the end, because I would immediately like revert to like minking him when I felt disrespected or when I felt like he was playing with my intelligence. And I need you guys to cut me some slack, okay? I got married when I was 18 years old to a 33-year-old man. And so in the Democratic Republic of Congo, that I think back in 2012, 2013, we didn't really have conversations about age gaps and how inappropriate they were at that age. And I know it doesn't seem that long ago, but there was a completely different reality then. Because if there wasn't, more people would have stood up and said something. But everybody celebrated, everybody was happy. Everybody knew that I graduated high school that year. Like everybody knew. The only people who kind of were looking at it sideways were my peers, were like the kids of my generation that I went to school with. They're like, this is kind of weird, like, why is she marrying? But like the older generation that was supposed to be our guiding light and our guiding force didn't see anything wrong with it at all. And so my ex-husband was I think his biggest vice was that he was a serial unfaithful man. He was a serial cheater. He had been cheating since the very beginning, and I didn't know. And I think that's where a lot of my anger came from, because not only were you doing it right under my nose in our marital bed, in our home, you did it that way because you thought that I was so young and I wasn't going to be able to like pick up on it. And you knew that I trusted you more than anything. And you knew that I was going to take your word over my intuition and over my gut. For those of you who watch Scandal, You guys remember in like the first season when Olivia was really mad at Fitz? I don't know if it was the first episode or the second episode, because she believed him when he told her that he did not sleep with that girl, even though all of the evidence was showing that he did. But she decided to go against her intelligence, to go against her womanly intuition, to go against self, because she believed that their love or their relationship was one that was founded in honesty. And I think the thing that broke my heart the most about my ex-husband in that regard is that I'm probably the most open-minded person that he knows in his life. If he had been just like straight up with me and told me that like this, that, and the third, I know for a fact that I wouldn't have freaked out the way that I did. My thing is like, put me on game. It's like, the world is the way that it is. I just don't like you playing with my intelligence and acting like I'm stupid. So back to like the DV, I'm gonna give a couple examples of like the DV. I mentioned to you guys that he only put his hands on me. It was like 6 times, and it was always, I think, retaliatory. But I was like minking him because he was playing with me. He had never broken any of my bones. The worst that he had ever done to me was those photos that y'all saw. And that's also the only time I took any photos, because before then there wasn't really anything to take photos of. He would literally just kind of like maybe push me off of him and like try to get away from me, or on the few occasions that he did get physical back with me, he would like shove me, like, but it was never, I think I mentioned before that he has never touched my face. He has never maliciously hurt me like that. I think I was lashing out. There was a lot of like, I have a lot of childhood trauma. I have a lot of just trauma, okay? And we both did. And I think we were trauma bonded. And that's really what it was. And I think we still are trauma bonded. And we're also children bonded. But yeah, so this first time that we got physical with one another, I was pregnant with our first son. And what happened was, I told y'all that nigga was a cheater. Like, he was just, like, my eye is twitching when I'm thinking about this stuff, because I don't want to tell you guys, because it's like I'm exposing myself to a certain extent. But I feel like I need to release this. I need to leave this in 2024. Like, I need 2025 to be completely different. I don't want to talk about this stuff anymore. And I need you guys to stop bullying him, because if you're going to bully him, you're going to have to bully me, because I haven't been honest with you guys. But anyway, I was pregnant with my firstborn son, and this nigga is so disrespectful. He had me stand in a house with a woman that he knew that he was hunching, okay? But the thing about the reason why I could not figure out, or I couldn't really catch them, is they were so respectful about it. That girl, if she even looked at me the wrong way, like, she was done for. Like, I was literally, like, it was just kind of like the sickest little thing, the sickest little ménage à trois, ou plutôt. And she never disrespected me, never, like, I would do shit to her just to get a reaction out of her, because I knew that she was fucking him. I knew that they were hunching, but I had no tangible proof. I ended up getting some later, but I had no tangible proof. And I also think that whole relationship was really kind of like bizarre, spiritually speaking. I'm not trying to take his side, but when I tell you guys, that girl had like buckets of her urine everywhere in the house, okay? And I think another reason why I want to talk about this stuff right now is because I'm seeing that guy from like Dakamuda or whatever, the Dakamuda person, how he's like talking about how like my ex-husband be doing like sneaky spiritual stuff. This is literally the scariest man I have ever met. This man is scared of everything. He is scared of everything. He is not doing that stuff, okay? And it pains me because of how I painted him. Okay, he was just so evil that like in my brain, I was just like, this is Gindoki. But it was never like true, like, oh my goodness, he flies like a witch at night type of situation. It was a figure of speech. But then he kept getting on my nerves, and I let people I let the public also take it further than whatever. And like, I played a huge role in that. And we have sons, bro. Like, and it's not fair. It's not fair. What he did was wrong, but I also did like wrong stuff. And so like I was saying, like, seeing people be like, ah, moupenya, tu peux sur raison, dakamuda, whatever, tu peux sur raison. Bon, pe sanga raison te, parce que ma kambazo le baiser a solo te. Et maintenant, moi, ça pèse sur ma conscience. Ça pèse sur ma conscience. Tu vois? Les gens utilisent mon témoignage de Mike comme une raison de lui tomber dessus maintenant à cause des erreurs qu'il a commises, mais des erreurs que je n'avais jamais expliquées en entièreté. Je disais ce qu'il faisait, mais je ne disais pas tout ce que moi je faisais non plus. Et juste tous les éléments étaient just too much. And so, yeah, so the day that I broke his finger and minked him, okay? I was 3 months pregnant with our first son, Shirai, okay? And we were living in that house with that girl that he was hunching or whatever. And he had told me that that was his cousin. And so that was another reason why, like, I didn't think that anything was going on, because I really believed him when he told me that that was his cousin. And I, you know, we don't do the Game of Thrones stuff, okay? So I didn't think for 1 second. I was like, okay, family member, whatever. I didn't think anything of it. And I grew up in the United States of America. I didn't know that people lie how they breathe in Congo. And mind you guys, again, remember, I was only 18 years old. Okay, come to the next part because, yeah.
Nella NG officiel. Nella NG. Écoute, like et abonne-toi à Nella NG officiel sur YouTube. Nella NG officiel. Pour l'actualité musicale congolaise, art et divertissement, écoute la voix d'or. Nella NG te dit toutes les vérités.